Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Jason Thornton, and this is Pocket Watchers, Black Financial Planners. Listen, I'm very excited about this particular interview. Mr. Lee, CFP, the man. I like before I even got in contact with this brother, I would see news articles featuring him that would pop up on Google. So I'm really excited. What this channel is all about for all of you who are new. This channel is about Black financial planners to help inspire the next generation of Black students, Black career changers who want to get into this world of financial planning. But that's enough of me. Mr. Lee, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, but JT, before I do, I have to say a couple of things. Right?
Go right ahead.
I don't get a platform like this all the time. I stay in my hole here in Atlanta. Okay, so number one, I watch a lot of your videos. I watch a lot of your shows. You're always rocking that Howard Bison. I had to come in here today.
Yes, sir.
I had to represent. So
yes, sir.
Just had to throw that out there. And number two, I first learned about you from another CPA friend of mine. And he was like, Malik, you got to watch this channel. You got to watch this guy. This guy, JT. Matter of fact, his name is Jason Bovell. He's a CPA, Bovell Financial up there in New Jersey. And nice. Like, you got to watch this, brother. He's doing a great job. And he's doing the Lord's work. So before we even get into all of this, I had to say that to you, okay?
Listen, I appreciate it, man. I'm telling you, I'm so critical of any content that I put out that, listen, just thank you. All right, let's get into this.
Yes. So my name is Malik Lee. I've been in the financial world for about 18 years. 14 of those years were in financial planning. I got my first feeling about finances when I was young. Nice. When I looked at my family had its struggles. Mm-hmm. When I looked at my family, I saw one person that was very successful. He used to always walk in, cool, smooth, always had a pocket full of money, had the suspenders on, and I was like, I want to be like Uncle Larry. Like, what does that man do? Okay. And he was the most successful person. I'm originally from Queens, New York, Jamaica, Queens. And he lived out in Long Island. Okay. He lived out almost near the Hamptons, like Ron Konkoma, right out there. So I used to go out there, spend a couple of summers out there, like, man, y'all living good, So I wanted to do that. All my family knew is that he worked with numbers. He dealt with money and numbers, right? So that's all they knew. And then, like, come to find out, he was an accountant, right? So I went to a high school. At the time, it was one of the worst high schools in New York City. Somebody on Facebook asked the other day, who's the biggest alumni to come from your school? I was like, LL Cool J, 50 Cent, and Fat Cat, like, right? Like, Fat Cat, But luckily that school was changing a little bit, and they had these business programs, and inside the business programs, we had specializations in accounting. So accounting is where, and I've always loved numbers, and accounting was where I cut my teeth, and thought I wanted to be an accountant. I got to Morehouse College, and then Morehouse was that accounting program was brutal. I was paying for college myself. I had 3 jobs. Working through college, and I was like, man, I can't continue to pay, because the average accounting person was taking 5-6 years to graduate. I'm like, listen, I got 4 years in me here, man. I got 4 years in me. So I was like, I need an easier major. So looked at marketing, looked at economics, fell in love with finance, because it was a mixture of dealing with people and numbers, and I was a people person. Right.
Yes. Great point. Yes.
Yeah. So I was a people person, and during college, I worked at Red Lobster, worked at Hallmark, did work study, worked at the Shark Bar, the famous Shark Bar. I was like one of the youngest people there at the time, and then I also threw parties. like really, really big parties.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
I dabbled in a little bit of that, so
I can tell, JT. I
dabbled in a little bit of well,
I
had to, because that was one of the easiest ways that I could raise money for my frat. So as a Sigma on campus, I was at a smaller school. In undergrad, you had to raise funds to get things going. So yeah, I threw a couple of parties in my day.
So a fun fact. I did a lot of the frat parties.
Okay.
Right? So because we had the money and we had the access to the venues, because this is still Atlanta, right? This is when Atlanta was like hot. This is like 2000.
Yes.
So this is when Atlanta was like hot, right? So
the snap music at its peak.
Oh yeah. So we actually threw the first ever Pretty Nasty party. We kind of created it down there at
wow. Okay.
So we had some big parties that we did to the tune where All-Star Weekend came my senior year, and that party we made like $80,000. Paid off all my debt, paid off all my my schooling, and then I had about 30,000-40,000 left over. And then I wanted to be a party promoter when I graduated, and lost all of it. Lost all of it, man. I lost all of it, man. I was throwing parties every week. My client base left, and then it was getting tough. That was the residue of the first recession that I was privy to as an adult, right?
Okay.
The 9/11, right?
Right. Okay.
So my internship. So during college, I backpedal. During Morehouse, I made that switch. So I said, let me find out what this wealth management thing is all about.
Okay.
So at the time, investment banking was the thing. I think somebody else might have said this on your thing too. Investment banking was a thing. In 1999, 2000, when my friends were graduating, I came in 99, but they were graduating like 2000, and like they were coming out of college making like $80,000 to $100,000 in like 2000.
Right.
So I was like, whoa, I need to do investment banking. So I tried to get these internships with investment banking, and like so I couldn't get. So I got one with Baker, New York, on Wall Street. So that's perfect because I'm back home in New York, and I can take the train. A lot of people, they had to pay for housing, because they wasn't from New York. So
you had to leg up.
Yeah. So I did that. I enjoyed that, and then like literally 21 days before, like around 21 days before 9/11, my internship ended, and One Wall Street is right next to the World Trade.
Right.
So I would have been 30 days later, I would have been right in the middle of all of that.
Golly,
I usually get there like at 8:30, 8:45, and that's around where everything happened, right? So like to this day, it just, every time that comes around, I'm like, thank God, man, because that no telling what could have happened.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, yeah.
So from there, I started doing those internships. So then I started, when came time to graduate, I was trying to get a job in the wealth management division, but they was not hiring us. Like, it was not happening, and one of the reasons was, it was, oh, you were too young. Oh, can you bring in any business?
Right.
Do you have any, $1 million clients? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I never even received $1 million on paper. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So from there, I still wanted to do something in finance. I was doing the parties. I fell on my face with the parties.
Right.
So then I started doing mortgages, right? Because the real estate market was booming. Like Antonio Brown said, business is booming.
Right.
Business is booming, man.
Right. There was all those ninja loans. I mean, everybody was buying a house. Everyone was buying a house. So that would be the market to get into.
Some people weren't even people buying houses. It was wild out there. It was wild out there. It was wild. So, but I was in the thick of all of that. I was 21 years old, and I was making like $150,000 a year. Doing right out of college.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, was saving up my money. I wasn't. Didn't take any financial planning classes. We didn't have all that stuff then. So I'm reading Money Magazine, Wall Street Journal, like all this stuff on my own, and like 19, 20, 21 years old, like religiously. Whenever I could get my hands on it, I'm reading it. Right. So I'm reading those things, and like, I'm like, okay, I got to pay off this debt. And then I'm like, I'm making too much money. I need to save on taxes. I didn't have a JT. If I had JT by my side, I probably would have been straight. You know, I didn't have JT. So the one thing that I knew is I was in real estate. I was doing mortgages. I was like, people say you can write off houses. So at 22, I bought my first house.
Okay.
Right? $250,000 house here in Atlanta, 22 years old. Man, I was kicking my feet up. I'm like, man, this is it.
You made it. You there.
I made it. I bought me a nice little Mustang. I threw some 20-inch rims on that thing. Boy, you couldn't tell me nothing.
Right.
Couldn't tell me nothing. And the next year, I think I made like 100, 120. And then 06 happened.
Oh.
See, everybody talks about the recession starting in 08. For us, it started in 06. It started in 06. So I got laid off in 06 from the mortgage company. I started my own because I was an entrepreneur with the parties and doing all these other things. I had other businesses too that I started. But so I was an entrepreneur.
Right.
So from there, I was like, you know what? I started in my own mortgage company, and then the market started to get even tighter because now we're getting closer to 08.
Correct. Started
my own little mortgage brokerage from that perspective. And then that started getting tight. And then I was making like $50,000, $60,000 doing the mortgage brokerage. Knowing what I know now, I probably would be a millionaire in mortgages right now if I would have started, if I would have stayed in it. Right. Because I would have been the expert. I would have been the guy that everybody they known as the mortgage person.
Gotcha.
Right. But I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have somebody to tell me, hey, Malik, stick through it. This is part of becoming an expert. You have to go through the ups and the downs
right,
of this industry.
Real quick, hey, that's the part that people don't understand. There's a lot of people online claiming to be experts in finance, claiming to be experts in the markets, and they've never experienced a down market. You ask them how long you've been doing it. Man, I've been doing this since 2015. Like, well, since then you can bet on any type of market. It's up.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're made of unless you go through a downturn. Yes.
For 11 years, the S&P 500, if you go back to when the market turned to March of 2020, it's averaged like 14%. Like, so just if you just put it in S&P 500, 14%, you're good. You're doubling your money every couple of years.
All you have to do is tell people buy something. He's a genius. He's a genius. He told to buy Apple. Apple? But I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox. Go. So,
JT, I ain't gonna roll up on you though. I ain't gonna roll up on you, man. I ain't gonna roll up on you.
It's crazy. But go ahead. Go right ahead.
So from there. So that's one of the things in my life that I kind of regret. I love what I do, but I also love the mortgages too. But now my friends that I brought into the industry, mortgage industry, that I helped train, these guys are making millions doing mortgages. And I'm like, I trained you. I'm like, man, I trained you. But they stuck with it.
They stuck through it. Yeah.
And they're really good at what they do. I can't take it away.
Of course.
They're really good at what they do. So from there, when it got tight, I said, man, you know what? I did all this work. I spent $40,000 on education with Morehouse College. I'm like, at the time, that's what it cost. I didn't stay on campus, but I had to finagle that.
Right.
My loans were $40,000 when I left. So I probably paid more than that, but I owed $40,000. So I'm like, man, I got to use this degree. And I wanted to do wealth management. So then I went to Merrill Lynch, right? They were hiring. I was still somewhat, since I was making the 50, 60, but to me, that was nothing because I'm used to making big money from the parties.
Of course.
And I'm used to making the big money from the mortgages. So I'm poo-pooing on 50, 60,000 when really that was good for my age.
Right.
That was good for my age at that time. But once again, didn't have that guidance, right? Didn't have that guidance or whatever. During the mortgages, though, putting away in the 401k, because I read all this stuff on the Money magazine. So by the time I went to go to the wealth management industry, man, I probably had about like $35,000, $40,000 in my 401k. You know how many times I calculated that number? If I never touched that money, what it would be today?
Where would it be?
I must have calculated that number about 30 times, JT.
Like, what made you pull out?
You know, once again, not having the guidance. Second, number two, this is why you have this channel. Hopefully, a brother or sister hears this and doesn't make the same mistakes that I'm about to tell you that I made. Okay. So what people don't understand, they see all of us online, they see us managing these clients with millionaires. I wish I could zoom in on my camera here. You don't make a lot of money in the beginning of this joint. You just do not make a lot of money in this in the beginning. You're lucky if you get a steady salary at all. Right. Now, the industry is changing a lot. We have the RIAs. We have people. I read the other day, I'm not sure if it was Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch, but they said that they are going to, in the next 10 years, they expect that you cannot enter their wealth management division unless you enter to a team or you come in as a team. Okay. So that is where this industry is kind of going. But when I started, it was, if you don't bring anything in, you don't make any money. Right. And oh, by the way, you got to study for all of these certifications and all of these tests. And oh, by the way, at Merrill Lynch at the time, if you don't pass the test the first time, you're fired. And I heard I think that's kind of still, they might give you a second chance, but I think that's kind of still the norm there, right? If you got to pass the Series 7 the first time, right? So you had all that pressure on you from that standpoint. And so they give you a little salary for like 3 months. After that, the salary is gone. Right. And a company like Merrill Lynch and things of that nature, they have these minimums that the clients have to have $250,000. Well, now, if you're watching this, you probably already know that the average Black household investable assets is around $17,000. It's nowhere near $250,000. Right? So if you're anywhere from any type of neighborhood like I'm from, then nobody has $2,500.
You got to go outside your network.
Yes. So we got to do what's called dollar for dollars. ABC, always be closing. You're grinding. And then you have the sporadic or the unsporadic moves in your income. And at that time, now Merrill Lynch, so just got married, so was getting married, had a baby like a couple of years later, had a second baby right after that. So now I'm building a family. So now it's like that financial pressure, especially for a man, is like on you, right? So I'm trying to provide, I'm trying to chase my dream. And then I started pulling out from it. Gotcha. Right. I started pulling out from it so that I can still chase the dream. Just pay minimal expenses. I wasn't going out there buying Maseratis or anything like that. Like I'm trying to pay, I'm trying to keep my house.
Right. Right. You're dipping into it as if it's your emergency savings fund.
There you go. Because I already blew through the emergency savings. I had 30 grand. I blew through that. That's gone. Emergency savings is gone, JT. That's over. That's over, man. Right. That's over. So at the time, so I picked the perfect time to start. My start date at Merrill Lynch was October, of 2007. Perfect time. Right. So, and I'm being sarcastic here, folks.
Right, of course. If you're unaware, this is right before the crash. This is right before the total meltdown of our financial system.
Right before it. So that was another thing, right? Jobs were scarce. There wasn't no Uber. There wasn't no Airbnb. There wasn't no Lyft. There wasn't no Uber Eats. There's no way I could hustle up the money. And then what a lot of people fail to realize too is that if you're working at some of those broker dealers like that, a lot of people there's certain things outside business activities that you just frankly cannot do. Right. Your company has to sign off on your side hustles.
Yep.
Okay. So that's what makes it even tougher. from that aspect of it, right? So now this, JT, this is something I'm going to challenge you here. Now here comes the challenge, right?
Okay.
Because I've yet to find someone that has worked in every single aspect of this industry like myself. I started at Merrill Lynch. From Merrill Lynch, they got bought out by BOA. They laid us all off, all the new people coming in. I then went to Metlife. Metlife was making a push to go after more financial planning, money management.
Okay.
Not really. You know, they still wanted life insurance as their number one.
It was a tool. Financial planning for them is just a tool to sell the life insurance.
Correct.
To get the info that you need to push to life insurance.
It took me a few years to figure that out, but I figured it out, JT. I figured it out. so I figured it out, you know. So for MetLife, I got fed up. I was like, hey, these big places are not for me. You know, they're just telling me lies and they're not helping me out. So I said, I'm doing this on my own. I'm an entrepreneur. So then from there, I went out on my own to start Felton Peel, what you see behind you, the first time.
Okay.
All right. The first time. Let's get this straight. The first time. Okay. So start Felton Peel the first time. And but I was through an independent broker dealer. You will know one, LPL, but I was with the one that was second, which was Securities America at the time.
Okay.
Securities America was owned by Ameriprise. That was their independent broker dealer arm because they got captive agents there.
Okay.
So what happened is there was a whole bunch of Ponzi schemes blowing up during 2008. Right. We can all name one. Bernie Madoff.
Bernie Madoff. Right.
So this one was probably the biggest one before Bernie. Right. So a lot of advisors at Securities America bought inside of this Ponzi scheme. They went past Securities America and they sued Ameriprise.
Okay.
So Ameriprise is like, nah, we done with this independent broker dealer stuff. Like it ain't worth it. Right. You know, all the money we made, they just took it from this lawsuit. So then they was nickel and diming us. It was really tough. We were still in the heart of the recession. We're still killing what we eat. Right. I'm getting a little bit more of my revenue at Merrill Lynch, at MetLife. They give you more like 40, 80%, 40 to 80% max, you know, 60 sometimes. Independent broker dealer, I was making more like 80% of what I received, but they were paying all these additional fees. This is probably another talk for another day of breaking down the different structures and all that stuff like that.
Right.
And then at the time, I closed the deal with a credit union to provide financial planning for the credit unions. Right.
Oh, okay. What even inspired you to go out and approach them?
Man, dude, listen, JT, you fogged the mirror. I was on you, dog. I was on you, man. You fogged the mirror. I was on you.
Okay.
Hey, you better watch out, JT. JT, I might. If this was 10 years ago, I'd have been, hey, JT, you got a planner? I'd have been on you, man. You have to be. Right.
So you approached the credit union and was like, listen, I can provide this service to your clients, to your customers.
Yes. It was an all-black credit union. It was the oldest credit union in Atlanta.
Nice.
A credit union of Atlanta. And most people who do not look like us that have credit union relationships, this is their career. They get a deal like this.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
That's 100% of their work. Yeah.
They're printing money, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for your boy. That wasn't the case, man. Right. You know, because once again, we didn't understand our demographic. You know, not everybody has the lump sum. Not everybody understands what financial planning is. You know, not everybody understands or not everybody feels like they need it, right? So we did a lot of educating. And then I'm thinking, I'm thinking that, hey, this is gonna be it, but it wasn't. So I bet my company's future on that. Right. And then when I realized it's going to take a little bit longer than I expected, I had to pivot and then go back doing seminars, calling folks, doing all that stuff like that. So that was kind of so that was kind of that. But they had their hooks into everything. They had their hooks into the Atlanta Police Department, City Hall. So that was my doorway into everything else.
Okay. Got you.
All right. So
nice.
from there, I was going up against. So from there, something really big happened. Kasim Reed took over as mayor, right? The city of Atlanta was doing poorly financially. They were moving from a pension to a 401k.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right. All right.
Yep.
So they needed someone to go around and do the differences between a defined benefit and defined contribution. So we went up against Valic, Wells Fargo,
right?
Like
the big boys,
Vanguard, the big boys,
the
big boys, and we won. I'm like, what? So, but that's because we were doing the groundwork. Everybody, I knew people in the mayor's office. I had a Morales brother that was on Kasim Reed's staff. I had a Spellman sister on his staff. We knew we were boots on the ground, like we were hustling. Right.
The relationships that you built years ago, like the seeds that you dropped years ago, you were able to actually feed on based on the fact that you were actually a part of the community. People understood who you were, even though you weren't this multi-billion-dollar brand. You were able to see, hey, no, I'm real. I'm actually going to be able to provide the services that I'm saying that I'm going to be able to provide. And they know that you actually care about the community that you're going to be educating, because it's a big swing going from a pension to a 401k or 403b type of situation. I mean, these workers, these I'm assuming city employees, they don't really know the difference. They have no idea.
Oh, they literally ran me out of one place. Like literally. They was like, what you mean we ain't got no pension? You try to say you coming in here and take my pension? I'm like, nah, it's not me. But you're sitting it's the city of Atlanta with 50, 60 black folk. You talking about they got no more pension. Oh, right. No. Listen, I had to get Jamaica Queens on like one of them a couple of times, man. I did, man. But I love my people though, so I was cool with it. But so like it was, but that was eye opening. And then so what I realized was they didn't communicate well what was happening. We would, of course, they wanted us to do the communication.
You're the bad guy. They want you to break the bad news to them.
Man, you guys gotta remember, man, I'm still like 28, 29. I'm young. But man, that was tough. So one thing that came out of that, I beat out one of the top RIAs. I didn't even know what an RIA was at the time. Right. For those that don't know, Registered Investment Advisory Firm. That's what my firm is now. Right. But an RIA, I beat out one of the top ones to land one of the deals with the city. And they was like, man, this brother's good. So they courted me for a little while. I said no because I wanted to have my own thing. Once again, no guidance. I probably took the deal, but man, life was coming at me, JT, man. The recession was strong. I'm like, man, this money is unsteady. Right. I'm just tired of the grind. I've been grinding. I'm like, and then I don't know what I don't know.
That's the biggest piece of it, because like you, I was an entrepreneur young, right? Young. Like I did my internship or whatever. I worked for my father, but my father is not an accountant. He's not a financial planner. He's a businessman. And I get a lot of extra credit because he'll send me clients and stuff like that. But as far as not knowing what you don't know, that can really bite you, because you can focus and be extremely good at one particular thing, but it's the unknowns that can kill a business. Yeah, that's a good
absolutely. Absolutely. So I threw my hands up. I was defeated, man. I threw my hands up. I'm like, how long I'm gonna do this grind? It's been 8 years. Like, it's tough, man. I'm done. I'm done. So I went to the RI. So I called them back and said, hey guys, I'll take it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Right.
Was probably one of the best decisions that I've made. To be honest with you, why is that? Because I saw how one of the best firms, man, they let a fox in the kitchen, boy. Right. They showed me how to make it, how to do it.
Oh my God. Yes. Listen, people. This is what you need to pay attention to. If you are interested in getting into financial planning and you have a entrepreneurial spirit, this is it. This is the key. That's why being able to do an internship or work with a firm early on is so beneficial, because now you get to pick up on the business practices and the structure and the way that they have the organization.
If you can't figure one out yourself, you can use there, because all these philosophies are not proprietary. Like all this stuff is factual based by PhDs. It's already done. You know?
You get to see the blueprint and you're like, oh, okay, here's the blueprint. This is how I can fit it towards my business model, and I'm off to the races. But without that, yeah, you might be a financial planner, but you're not a business owner yet. There's all these other pieces. That's why, you want to get with a good organization to see, okay, how is this stuff running? Because that's me. I get that from my father. We're too ambitious to be employees for too long, because we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out what you're doing that's successful, and then we can set up shop right across the street from you and compete directly with you, because that's all we need to know. So people, pay attention. If you do want to be an entrepreneur and you don't have any real experience doing it, you gotta get inside an organization that's doing the things the right way. That way you can figure it out, and then you can open up shop. Because I'm telling you, the mistakes you're gonna make on your own, it's gonna kill a lot of time and it's gonna kill a lot of money.
Man, and let me tell you what really made this so special, though, right? It's because I just, quote unquote, failed at starting what they were successful at. So I'm not going in there like, oh, they're doing this. I'm going in there like, well, why are you guys doing this and not that?
Right.
And then they ask Malik, why you ask so many questions? I don't know. I'm just curious. Just read a whole bunch of books. I don't know.
Right.
They don't know that I was just trying that and I failed, or it wasn't successful, or how was this successful and why didn't this work? Right. So man, like they started me to equivalent of like sweeping the floors. Like I was Danielson. I was waxing on, waxing off. I was waxing on, waxing off. Right. And I was pissed about it. Cause my pride, my ego, I was like, man, why y'all got me doing this? I was running meetings and doing all that stuff myself. Like, why am I sitting? JT, my first 3 months, I literally ran 350 financial plans. I'm not laughing. Them folk were on me, dog. I was running plans like a madman. Like, and then like I have some paraplanners now that I mentor and stuff like that. Right. Oh, Malik, man. But I say, man, you know how many plans I had to run? Like, you gotta get down there and run them plans. Like, that's how you get tight. You gotta see these different situations. You gotta see, because the books are only gonna teach you but so much.
Right.
You need real world application, and you need someone there that got your back, that tells you what you're doing wrong, how you need to look at something else. And then like, but during that time, what did it allow me to do? While I was independent, when I was running my own business, I paid for my own CFP courses.
Okay.
The CFP course, I went through Oglethorpe University. The CFP courses at the time, they were like $7,000 to $10,000. I'm not sure what they are now. I can't remember the price.
Yeah, I mean, they're rough. They're probably between on the low end 5,000, on the high end maybe 10,000. A little bit cheaper
because they do more stuff. Like we was like in classrooms. We had physical books. Like this was like, your typical kind of stuff. And then so I paid for all of that out of pocket. Like my own, no job, nobody. I paid for it out of pocket, right? Because I wanted to be in CFP. But then I'm running this business, and then when they told me how much the review course costs, because the Kenzan review course like $1,000, and then the test itself was like another $350 or $500. I'm like, I need another $1,500. So, and I just had my second baby at the time, so I'm like, so I went through all the courses, and it took me at the time. There was no fast track courses. There's some companies now fast tracking people through in like 6 months, 8 months.
Right.
My course was an 18, 21 month course. I did it in like 11. Right. I was taking 2 courses at once. Right. Because I didn't have any time to waste. Like I was like, I had no time to waste. I got to get this done. Right. And then
at what point were you actually introduced to becoming a CFP? Obviously, the term CFP and stuff like that was probably introduced to you when you first got into wealth management. But at what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to become a certified financial planner?
So that is a great question. When my first day at Merrill Lynch, they pulled us into I had a cubicle. Inside the cubicle, Merrill Lynch had when part of your onboarding as an employee, as a wealth manager, they gave you all the books for the CFP. Like, it was in my desk.
Okay.
I sat down. I didn't even know what it was. They didn't even tell me, because to them, at the time, it was all about assets. Yes, gotcha. We know the CFP is cool. That shows that you're an expert. They want to, they like to have the picture perfect advisor, at Merrill. So they had the material, but they didn't tell us anything about it. Like, I didn't know anything. So and everybody was focused on assets. It was like one person maybe had it in the whole office that I was in. Maybe,
wow.
At the time. It wasn't even a lot. My office was a small Merrill office. We had about 50 advisors in there. So it was like one of their satellite small ones. When I got to Metlife, now I felt like I learned more about holistic planning when I was at Metlife.
Really?
Yes, because those folks there, man, they had to really do planning to talk you into buying a $5,000 a month life insurance policy.
Right.
They did. I was gonna set them up like that.
Right. They have to check your temperature. They got to get you all through go through all this stuff.
So there was real planners there, and I was rubbing shoulders more with CFPs in Metlife, and those folks were good, man. I mean, they were smart. They were like comprehensive. I'm like, I want to be like this person. And then they were the most successful ones.
Really?
Right? So they were the most successful ones at Metlife. So I'm like, I want to be like them. Gotcha. And then I think at the time the CFP board started to advertise that if you are CFP, your income is like 40% higher than someone who doesn't have it.
Right.
Right. So when I started seeing those numbers, I'm a numbers guy. I chase the bread. I'm like, okay, I need this certification.
Right.
So that's when I said I need it. And then I felt that now this is kind of leads to why I do so much in the industry. Chairman of the Financial Planning Association of Georgia. It's the 6th largest chapter in the country. I was on the nomination committee for the national chapter, for the FPA Association, for the board. I'm the past chair of the CFP Council of Examinations.
Oh my God.
I do all of these things. That means I help administer the exam. I'm the guy. You coming through JT, you came through me to get what you
right. Hey, listen. I worked extremely hard for this. Thank you. I appreciate
it. Yeah, you came through Big Dog to get that.
Thank you.
No, I'm joking. It's a team of us, man. It's like 7 of us. It's like 7 of us.
No, I'll tell you. So what was the grind? Because obviously, I mean, you got your second child. You were studying before when you had your own business. What was it like to be able, to have to study for the CFP exam while you're juggling all these different things? Because it wasn't picture perfect straight out of college, going into it with no responsibilities. You had a lot of responsibilities, work, all these other things, family, and still having to study for this huge exam.
Great question. And when I went to that RIA firm, this RIA was top 100 barons. At the time, they had 1.5 billion. They got like 3 billion now. Now that they manage. So they were managing with a team format, right?
Okay.
So those grinding days that I was doing independently, they turned more into 9 to 5s.
Okay. Yep.
Right. Yep. So when you're working with a team, when you're working with the RIA, it's more like your typical business.
Yes.
And your typical accounting industry or what have, or your law firm. Yeah. Right. So it was actually easier to study for it. Like, I had lunch breaks. I had time before I had to go home. I had like an hour before I had to go home. I would get to the job at like 8 and studied like an hour before the job. So I was studying guaranteed like 3 hours a day,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so like, and this is how you know certain things are just God given. This is what you're built for.
Right.
It really came fairly easy to me, you know. A lot of the things I've been reading about for years. Like I've been studying financial planning for like 20 something years,
mm-hmm.
you know. So like to me, a lot of things just came naturally. And then they paid for it. They took the stress out of that $1,500 that I owed. They paid for it,
right?
You know, so I didn't have to worry about paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that made it very easy. I took it, passed it the first time.
Nice.
You know, kind of knocked it out. And then from there, I you know, when I first started in the industry, I didn't have what's called the gray hair effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still don't have it. I'm 40 years old now. I still don't really have it. But people know I'm 40. Like they're like, dude, you look like you're 38. So they give me some kind of respect now. But when you're a young person in this game, it's very hard. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're going to people with money. Typically, that person with money is going to be 50, 60 years old. The majority of the wealth is still held by like the boomers and higher.
Right.
Right. So they have to entrust you as a 25-year-old, 30-year-old to give you all of their money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they want to make sure that you know all the book stuff, but you still might not know everything about life.
Right.
You know, and so what I wanted to do was eliminate that hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I started doing things to hold myself out as an expert. Right.
Gotcha.
I started writing for publications. I started doing media quotes. Mm-hmm. I started doing seminars. Yeah. I started getting on boards in the industry. I started getting certifications. And then when I looked up, and then you kind of see what you have today, you know, and I just never stopped. People say, hey, Malik, you know, I see you in all these articles. But matter of fact, there's one behind me there now, the Wall Street Journal. That was my first feature. Right there.
I mean, because I think I was telling you before, my first introduction to you was through your media presence. Like if you are Googling or you have any type of financial planning, Google alerts and stuff, you're going to see this man's name. you're gonna know who this man is because he is known throughout the, financial planning media sphere as a go-to expert for information, which is amazing.
Yeah. And you want to know how, and people ask me all the time, I don't mind giving you guys the secret because everybody's not going to do it. You know, so everybody's not going to do it. So I don't mind giving you guys the secret. So the secret was like anything else, hard work, right? so like once you get into this industry, you want to join associations, right? A lot of people look down upon associations. Associations transformed my career. Some of those associations, and JT, you might know some other ones, but NAFA. The CFP is one if you have your CFP, the Financial Planning Association, the African American Association of Advisors. Yes. If you're a Black financial planner. And there's an insurance Black one. I don't know the name. I can't remember. It's like
someone was on my other show talking about it just the other day. So I don't remember the acronym, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I got a lot of experience with the National Association of Black Accountants and stuff like that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. So those associations a lot of media outlets go to these associations because they need. So all right, we're in the information era. They need stories, they need content, they need sound bites
all the time,
and then they're going to associations like that because they know that's where the experts are, and they know that's where they can cast a wide net because typically they need it in a short period of time.
Oh, turnaround time real quick. Yes. Sometimes hours. Same day, right?
Same day, 24 hours, right? So every time I saw one of those inquiries, I stopped what I did and I wrote 250 to 500 words to their response. Every time.
Woo.
Every time. And I did that for 2 years until I got that first big feature behind me where they was like, we want you to feature you because you know why? When they did the SEO and they typed in a Black CFP or a Black advisor, they saw my name unpaid for. I paid $0 for it. It was blood, sweat, and tears. That's what I paid for.
A lot of grind, right?
A lot of grind. That's what I paid for. You could, I zoom in, I see the red in my eyes right now. Still grinding. so
But no, this is great because this is what people need to hear, because anyone who's starting out in this industry, for the most part, I mean, you have a few people who maybe they came from money and they have a network where they can talk to, you know, their uncles or people who got big money. But when the only thing you have is your will and the education that you got, but you have no money backing you, this is something that you can do. But it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to bust your butt. You're going to have to actually start creating content, getting out there and responding to things like this so that you can build up the reputation that you need to be able to be featured in a major publication like you were.
So now let's go back here, JT. Like let's go back, right? So JT, I don't know you that well. I seen you from afar. I love your YouTube channel. I watch it when I'm working out, when I'm trying to get the pythons going.
Right.
I listen to the YouTube channel all the time. Now, I don't know how many acting classes or YouTube classes or speaking classes you took. Right. My guess is none.
Right. Absolutely none. Right.
But look at you today. Right. Now, I'm horrible at writing. You know, I tell people all the time, I am terrible at writing. I failed writing in elementary school, middle school, high school, and college. That was the only class I failed in Morehouse was English. I failed it twice. Three times. Okay. I got a 800 on the SAT. Like my math score was like 600 points of it. Like my reading was horrible. Okay. My reading was horrible. Okay. So it's, I'm not sitting. So if you're saying, oh, you know, he's right, I'm terrible at writing or I'm terrible at speaking, you know, you will get better with practice.
Just like anything else in the world.
Just like anything else in the world. You just got to try. You just got to try and put your heart into it.
Keep doing it. Yep. Keep doing it.
You got to try and put your heart into it. You know, now it's to the point that JT alluded to this, but it's to the point where I don't even, people, the reporters call me now. Right. They call me and say, hey, Malik, do you got 5-10 minutes? I need this soundbite from you. You know, and so now you see my name so much now, they're coming to me now. I don't have to write anything anymore now. You know, and I'm gonna tell you another, you know what it led to? When I started Felton Peel the second time, right? When I started Felton Peel the second time, I had to leave that firm I was telling you about. When I left the firm, right, I had about 80 clients that I was managing, 100 clients. They had about $250 million in assets. So that was the book that I was managing within the firm. The IRA, right. And then I led that. I was the leader on that team, right? So I did everything, the planning, picked their investments, all that stuff like that. So I led that team. When I left, I was, you know, I signed a NDA, a non-compete. So I left with 0 clients.
Oh, Lord.
Like nothing. So I started back over again. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I can do it because you know why? Because I built a brand now. I built the brand. If you build it, they will come.
That's right.
Right. So that's kind of like where that led me to. And as I was out there on my own, started doing this, started writing, guess what? These publications, they started to get too much. I'm trying to build a business. I'm trying to do real work here, right? I'm not trying to be a reporter, okay? Right? So,
an unpaid reporter at that.
Great segue, JT. Great segue. So let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened. So as I started turning these people down, they was like, Malik, we gotta have you. I'm like, man, I ain't that good. There's better people out there, okay? Just stop calling me. Well, how about if we pay you $500 for the article that you write? I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, okay. And then another company called. Nah, I'm busy. I'm like, you know what? This other company's paying me. I don't want to waste my time writing this article. Well, how about we pay you $1,000? What? Pay me? The person that got an 800 on the SAT, the person that failed English every time? You really gonna pay me to write something? And then so now anytime you see my name, it's a money behind it.
It's a money.
It's a check behind it.
Right. You were paid for this knowledge that you.
I was paid for my time now to write that. Now, at the time, I was excited about that. I didn't understand SEO. So now these companies, all those Google alerts or the Google feeds that you saw from the articles, they paid me to write it. It didn't pay to put it into Google.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
People understand what's going on here. I don't want this to go over your head. I mean, some people got to be business owners to understand how good this is.
Yes.
He's being paid to create the content. Then the people who paid him for the content, they are using their machine to get it out there to the public. That's a double whammy. He's getting paid for the content, and now people who are searching for financial information, financial tips, certified financial planners, he pops up now. So now people are coming to him, and his brand is just getting bigger and bigger. That's listen, hard work.
Hard work, man. Hard work. And then people say, "Hey, are you gonna stop?" Nah, I ain't gonna stop. You know. So now it's turning into building a team and all that stuff like that, and helping people write for me. I pass along these opportunities. I gotta give back.
Right.
I wouldn't be where I'm at today for people who didn't give back. Nice. So everything I do, someone's coming with me.
Nice.
Like these opportunities, these paid opportunities, I've got about 5 or 7 people on.
Oof.
You know, so wherever I go right now, JT, the CFP board is it added a new course, right? Psychology.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So I'm on the advisory group for that, right? And so we're helping to put together the book, the material that's going out for this, right?
Right.
Like we're helping to give them that guidance. Right, from that perspective. So I'm in rooms now where I change things. I'm like, hey, do we have a black person, a black editor in this book? Do we have somebody doing this? Do we have somebody doing that? Like, you know, these things are happening, and we're, you know, and now I'm making those decisions, and I would never ever think that I would be in this position like 10 years ago.
Right. And then think about this. You're talking about, you know, the psychology behind a planner-client relationship, right? If you're not in that room doing what you're doing, the community that we, for the most part, serve, they won't be a part of the formula, because the way that I communicate with our community behind financial planning, which involves the psychology of the planner-client relationship, is going to be different from someone else in another community. So if you're not in that room, if you're not helping to create a curriculum for potential planners to understand the psychology behind working with a client, then once again, we're creating an even larger gap between having accessibility to a planner that's going to actually help the Black community.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and another thing too, what makes this, I had to learn the hard way. And I say to this day, I think it's PTSD from my neighborhood where I grew up at. You just like, if you had money, if you was flashy, you didn't go around telling everybody. You didn't brag because they took it from you.
Right. Right.
Okay, I gotta keep it 100 here, JT. It got taken.
Right.
You know, like, he's wearing the hard way. How you gonna do this? So one of the things for me was to, and you do a great job of this, but you know, to be open, to be more open about your life, your circumstances, your situations, right? And it wasn't until, like, so a lot of people say they go to my website and they say, hey, especially in this industry, they're like, man, this website is amazing.
Right.
I'm like, it better be. I spent $10,000 on this.
Well, I paid for it.
Yeah. Everybody's like, $10,000, man, you could have got one from Upstart or whatever.
Fiverr, get someone on Fiverr and get it for like $30.
For $30, you know, and then listen, and I win business today because of that website. Okay. So during that process, this person not only built websites, there was a branding person as well.
Okay.
So we got to have the certain shots. Malik, you need your angle. Your left side is better than your right. Like that kind of stuff. Your hairline it's not that receded on that side.
Oh, that's that.
So this is like I had to be open. One of the things that happened to me in life, like my parents died when I was 6 years old, 5 years.
Wow.
30 days apart from each other.
Wow.
Right now, this is not my family even hates that I talk about this, but this is how I have to heal. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how did they pass away? People ask me. They passed away because this is New York City in the 80s. This is snowfall at its best. Right. So they passed away because they were sharing needles and they died of AIDS. Right.
Wow.
And they died 30 days apart from each other.
Wow.
Right. So I was 20 days away from going into a home, and on my mother's deathbed, she told my grandmother to come get me. Go get him. He can't live with my family. The way that they live in, he'll be dead or in jail. So I was raised by my grandmother. My father's middle name is Felton. My mother's maiden name is Peel. Right?
Okay.
That's where the name comes from. Everybody says, Malik, who is that?
Right. Like, are those silent partners?
Yeah. Somebody backing you? Oh, white man, you got back in this company. So that is kind of so that's always been my story. Anybody who knows me knows where I came from. Like they know what am I about, what I had to go through.
Right.
And so to tell that story was very tough. We literally got into a shouting match with my branding person. They was like, Malik, I'm quitting if you don't tell the story. I'm like, it's my story. I ain't telling. No.
Right.
So because, but it was healing for me. And you want to know something? That's been probably one of the biggest things, the most successful things to our business. Because when people come to our website, they read the story, they read what we're about, they read our goals, they read all those things of that everything like that. Right. They like, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. So I tell people no matter where you go, whether that's a Merrill Lynch, a Morgan Stanley, a Metlife, a New York Life, an independent, like you're going to have to tell these people your story. Yeah. Right. One way or another.
Money is so intimate, right? I said this the other day on my show. It's like people are more willing to give you the deep, darkest details of their sexual lives before they will tell you the basics of their financial lives. And if you can't make that connection to them, you're never going to be able to help them in the way that they need to be helped. You're just not. They're not going to be open. They're not, because you are putting yourself in a very vulnerable position to say, hey, this is where I am financially. These are the mistakes that I'm making, and I'm afraid someone is going to yell at me because of the mistakes that I'm making. And they'll just keep it walled off. But you being able to tell your story and they feel as if they know you and they understand, your whole journey from beginning to where you are now they begin to open up a little bit, because part of our jobs isn't just crunching numbers. It's part of our job. We're almost like financial therapists.
Yeah.
They had that breaking points where I'm sure you've been in a situation where a client broke down and cried.
I had a client cry for 60 minutes. Like they literally cried the whole meeting. I have a client that cries now every time I speak to her. She lost her son, and that's one of the hardest things for a parent to lose their child. She lost her son, and she literally cries 2 years ago. Every time I speak to her, because we both happen to go to the same high school. She's like, oh, Malik, you remind me of him so much. And every time she cries.
Wow.
And then like I'm just like so we had to get her help. To your point, you have to see these signs, right? And then we have to help these people get help. Like these are people that you're building. If you want to be a financial planner, a real true financial planner, these are people you're building relationships for the next 20 years with, right? And then if that person is 80 years old and you're 40 like myself, you want to build that with their kids,
right? Yeah,
because their kids are probably your age. So no matter what, these people need to know you. They need to know your story. They need to know, they need to know what you're about, what you believe in. Because I tell people, there's a lot of different ways. If you put me and JT in a room and we come up with a plan, JT might go left, I might go right, but then we're all going to meet there at the same
right. It's going to be the same destination. The route that we get there might be just a little bit different, but ultimately it's going to be based on the client's goals and where they want to end up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, you gotta be prepared for that. Got to be prepared for that. And you and like there's no right way. There's no 100% right way. There's some basic ways, and that's what the CFP teaches you. These are the basic things that you got to do. But then after that, you can kind of get a little creative with some things.
Yeah. That point, it reminds me what I heard. I've listened to a lot of Dick Wagner, the Think Like a CFP in his mindset. And he talks about how financial planning is like one of the ultimate liberal arts type of fields, because it's not purely scientific, because there's the human element. If it was scientific, it's like you would just need robo advisors. If people were just logical. We're not logical. We're highly emotional. So it is a form of art. It's a liberal art, because you can get to it a bunch of different ways based on personalities, based on particular ethics that people have and the values that they have, because it's not all about dollars and cents. It's about goals. It's about inspiration for certain people. Certain things inspire one client that won't inspire another client. And you've got to kind of figure it out without driving yourself insane. You got to figure it out, because you can't just point and say, well, this over here will get you 12%, and you're stuck on this thing that gets you 8%. It doesn't matter to them, because they're being illogical. You got to find a way to break through. That's why this is an art form in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, no, that's JT, you hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head.
I don't want to take up all your time. Last piece, what piece of advice, if you're speaking to the younger you, that guy who just graduated from Morehouse and he knows what he wants to do. Obviously, you were feeling your way through, but he knows what he wants to do. He's looking at this whole financial planning thing. What would you tell that young Malik?
Oh, this is easy. I tell people this every day, all the time. I tell them to join a team or start with an RIA. Period.
Yeah.
Why is that? If you join with a team, because you don't want to spend your first 3-4 years finding business in this industry.
Woo! Go ahead.
Like, you want to spend those years getting some letters behind your name, like myself.
Right.
Because the way this industry is moving, one set of letters is not going to be enough. Right. So you need to get started on that now. You need to get started on those certifications. You need to get started on the CFP. You got to do a certain amount of hours, even once you pass the CFP. So you want to get working on that, and then you don't want the drama, the distraction of having to get business. Because when you need to get business, that takes up everything.
Yeah.
That takes up everything.
You're not learning financial planning when your whole mindset is, I've got to sell something. I got to sell this insurance. I got to get assets under management. I got to do all this work. And you're losing the time that could be used more effectively actually becoming a planner. That's what you want to do. You want to actually become a planner. When you become a financial planner, the other stuff is so much easier to do.
No, so absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, bro, I appreciate your time, man. I probably took way more time than I should have, but I had to have you on. You've got to be featured here on Pocket Watchers Black Financial Planners, because like I said, when I'm looking for info, Malik's name pops up. How can people reach you if they want to reach out to you?
I'm very, very easy to be reached. They can reach me on Instagram, Felton_Peel 09. Twitter, I don't even know what the Twitter is. But Felton Peel, it starts with something like that.
Right.
LinkedIn, I'm a big dog on LinkedIn. I got like 1,000 followers. but LinkedIn is kind of where I'm active. Also my website, from that standpoint, my website, I always update all of my articles that I'm featured on. You go to my website, go to the press page, you will see, I haven't really counted it, but I think it's about 75 features or something like that, or something like that. So you can see all the different articles, some of my thoughts, some of my features, and from the top ones, I have a full feature in Barron's, full feature in Wall Street Journal, full feature CNBC, all the big ones. They're definitely there from that perspective, so you can kind of dive into a little bit more. And then also, yeah, I think those are probably the four best. But I'm very easy to read. Ain't nothing private. If you're crazy, I'll just block your number. That's it.
That's it. We're gonna end it on that note. People, thank you. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this content. We're making it for you, that future Black certified financial planner. So thank you. Catch the next one.
Hold on, JT. Gotta leave like a Morehouse man. We gone. We gone, JT.